Today, we will be talking about the last years of Mao Zedong, the experimenter, the revolutionary, the politician. During much of his political career, Mao lived by the maxims of guerrilla warfare: advance, consolidate, advance again. The years leading up to his death were a period of consolidation, and Mao would ultimately die before any new advance could be made in domestic revolutionary policy. It was also a period of consolidation internationally. If one of his aims had been to bolster China's self-sufficiency and independence in the world, he had employed various means to this end. In the 1950s, he had famously leaned to one side, to the Soviet side, the east wind prevailing, as he said, over the west wind. Now, in the face of growing Soviet strength, combined with his own fundamental, if often incomprehensible, antipathy to the Soviet Union, both as a socialist nation and as a great power, he leaned, although much more carefully, to the other side in a limited united front with the United States. Ultimately, in this regard, Mao did not share the faith of his defense minister and supporter Lin Biao in China's role as a leader of world revolutionary movements. To Mao, foreign policy was more an area for maneuver to serve China's interests and his policies at home. Domestically, this was also a period of readjustment. Old cadres purged at the height of the Cultural Revolution were brought back on the assumption that they were sufficiently re-educated or sufficiently needed in an attempt to cover over the gaps in the party opened by the Cultural Revolution and also to keep old antagonisms below the surface for the sake of party unity. This would prove ultimately more dangerous and much less successful than his shift in foreign policy. The Cultural Revolution had opened wounds that would not quickly be healed, and the political life of the first half of the 1970s was marked by intense strife between factions, which twice led China seemingly to the brink of civil war. Perhaps above all, in domestic politics, this is a period of confusion, a confusion that was only intensified with the later revelations of bizarre plots and schemes that did no credit to the Chinese Communist Party's leadership as a whole. It was a period in which Mao was in physical and surely also mental decline, a confusion made all the worse by his suspicions of everyone else, his subordinates in particular, and his desire to retain until his death ultimate authority. All his life, Mao Zedong promoted struggle, and the 1970s were full of them. But in his efforts, for example, in the Cultural Revolution, to keep the revolution from becoming institutionalized, he had worsened a bad situation, and he had made inevitable the grabs for power and the factional disputes that marked the end of his reign. And indeed, this period was much more like the end of a dynasty or the end of a long emperor's reign, characterized by court intrigues, wily men and women, and a doddering old man still in power. If the stated aim of the People's Republic of China was, after 1975, to become a modern industrial socialist state by the end of the 20th century, the political character and political culture of China seemed not very distant from that of the old empire.